This video is about the organelle of the nucleus. The nucleus is often the largest organelle. Oops, there we go. It's often the largest organelle, and it's filled with a jelly-like substance called nucleoplasm. To my pencil, there we go. So I always want to focus on vocabulary and how that works out. So plasm, gel or jelly, and nucleo meaning nucleus. So it's the jelly or the gel of the nucleus. The function of the nucleus is to house and protect genetic information. Now, when the cell is not dividing, DNA is in the form of a molecule called chromatin. Most of you should be able to recognize the double helix of the DNA, but that's not actually what chromatin is. Chromatin is DNA, but it's wrapped around proteins. So that's what chromatin looks like. But when a cell is dividing, there's a lot of condensing and twisting and folding that happens in order to form chromosomes. So when a cell is not dividing, it's chromatin. When a cell is dividing, it's chromosomes.
The nucleus contains the genetic code to produce virtually every cell in the body. Nuclei are bounded by two lipid bilayer membranes. Nuclear pores regulate the entry and exit of large particles. The nuclear envelope encloses a gel-like fluid called the nucleoplasm, in which other nuclear elements are suspended. The nuclear lamina, a network of protein filaments similar to the cytoskeleton, lines the inner membrane and maintains the shape of the nucleus. Each nucleus contains one or more nucleoli, the sites where the subunits of ribosomes are assembled. The nucleus also contains long ribbon-like pieces of chromatin.
Okay, so the nucleus is where DNA is transcribed into RNA. Now, just as like to have you understand like the big picture, because a lot of biology is getting lost in detail when you study things on a very small like molecular level, and you're like, why does this matter? So why this matters, like this is the nucleus. This is a structure called the nucleolus, which I'll talk about in a second. But all of the instructions, that's a bad color to use. Green maybe? Okay, so all of the instructions to make proteins is in DNA. And DNA is in the nucleus, and DNA cannot leave the nucleus, but protein is made in the cytoplasm. So you need a molecule to be able to take the information to make the DNA from the nucleus into the cytoplasm where proteins are made. And that is RNA, which you can see from this little animation over here. From DNA, we make RNA, and from RNA, we make protein. And that's how everything in our cell is built, because DNA never leaves the nucleus. But proteins aren't made in the nucleus, they're made outside the nucleus in the cytoplasm. So the nucleus is where we transcribe, or like the word transcribe, again, is a regular English word, just means like to copy down. So if someone was transcribing what I'm saying right now, they would just be writing down what I'm saying. That's transcribe, or transcription, same thing. So RNA can then move through the nuclear pores to the cytoplasm where the proteins are made. The membrane of the nucleus is the nuclear envelope. Try to be funny. That is just a double membrane that surrounds the nucleus. I don't know why we don't call it the nuclear membrane. I suppose you probably could, but the official title is nuclear envelope. And just like the plasma membrane, it's made of a 2-phospholipid bilayer, which you can kind of see if you look closely. You can kind of see the 2 layers, and then like the little light space in between, that's the tails. And finally, we have the nuclear pores, which all of these little tiny circles that you see here, these are all nuclear pores. These are protein-lined holes. They're basically like little channels that can open up and let RNA out. Now, I mentioned in a previous slide the nucleolus. This is kind of a tricky word because it's very close to nucleus, but this is the nucleus right here. And then this darker area is called the nucleolus. Yeah, so pointing to that. Whoops, sorry about that. There we go. So the nucleolus is a denser area in the nucleus where DNA is concentrated when it's making ribosomal RNA.